Hello, and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast that revisits my top favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander, joined by my co-host,
Courtney Autumn.
Venture with us as we set our sights on the infamous Hellmouth to cover 90s cult classic, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Follow along from the beginning, spoiler-free, as Courtney views the show for the first time and I revisit the series for new takes and a fresh perspective on its narrative.
Each season, every episode, in order, we will follow Buffy Summers and her friends to examine their character development, the show's underlying themes, along with its major story arcs, all while engaging in conversations, sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, load your crossbows, and join us as we explore the supernatural world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's get into the episode.
Do it.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm so ready. Let's rip his ass up.
Oh God, I cannot.
All right, here we go. Season 1, Episode 6, The Pack. It aired April 7th, 1997, was written by Matt King? I don't know. Directed by Joe Rehnquist? I don't know that either. I don't know what's wrong with these people's names. I don't know the one, what is it? Cragg. Some of these I'll just never forget their names because they have such strange last names. So I hope everybody else knows how to pronounce their name. Regardless, though, we're here for The Pack. Lovely episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, except it's not, but it is, but it's not, but it is. It's Courtney's new favorite episode, right, mate?
It actually is. That's not a lie.
You liked it? Is it your favorite episode so
It
far?
really is. It really is. It's my favorite episode so far.
Why?
And I hope I haven't said that already, literally, but it really has. It genuinely had moments where I was scared. I was like, holy fuck, what's about to happen? I'm about to shit my pants.
Dude, I've been doing the scripts for episodes 8 and 9, and I have videos to send you because I've been like clipping stuff for myself. I can't wait till we get to that episode so I can send you that. But that episode I know is going to be super fun, and we're just going to be like in hysterics probably the whole episode because I was like, oh, okay, I got to record for this. That's episode 9 though. But yeah, we're not here to talk about episode 9. We're here to talk about episode 6, The Pack, Courtney's actual favorite episode.
It is.
Yeah, here's what we're getting into this week. While on a school field trip to the zoo, after sneaking into a quarantined exhibit, Xander and a group of 4 classmates are possessed by demonic hyena spirits, which caused them to wreak havoc on the high school. That's it. Listen, I was not trying to give Xander no special synopsis like I did in Teacher's Pet because he is quite undeserving and on my bad side currently.
You are right about that. He doesn't deserve any kind of moments of fame. At least not until the end.
No fame, no glory. Yes, season 5, Xander, will be what is up. This episode has a lot to unpack, though, no pun intended. Of course, it's our first Xander-centric episode, and not in the best way, unfortunately, to say he will not be our shining slayer this episode.
No.
Yes, exactly. But from the behavior of Xander while being possessed to the untimely demise of our favorite character, this episode really does high school bullies meet supernatural metaphor in an interesting way. I'll share the majority of my thoughts later, but for sure, Courtney, how you feeling right now initially about the episode? Besides that, it's your favorite one.
And well, like I said, it had moments where I was genuinely scared, which I noticed is the first episode that's actually happened in, where I felt genuine fear like I do in a scary movie, and not just like
suspense?
oh, I know it's going to happen kind of thing, or just a moment of suspense. I was genuinely like, oh my fucking God. Also, I felt like they went from 0 to 100. Like the other episodes were kind of like, we're going to play it low and slow. We're going to keep it in one lane. And then they all of a sudden were like, we're going into a place we haven't gone yet.
A dark place.
A very dark place.
I think I might know where you're talking about.
On so many levels, though. Like, what the fuck?
Yes. Ooh. I can't wait to read you the metaphor portion of this.
Ooh, yeah.
It's going to be great. But yeah, I guess we can basically go ahead and get into it. The episode begins.
In every generation, there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against the vampires, the demons, and the forces of darkness. She is the Slayer.
We open on a shot of the Sunnydale Zoo. As we pass by signage pointing out directions to reptiles, elephants, and the hyena house, We see Buffy walking around by herself. A group I'll be calling the Core 4 assholes, led by Kyle and his gang, Rhonda, Tor, and Heidi, are walking toward Buffy. Rhonda taps Kyle, and he takes notice to Buffy ahead of them. Immediate Buffy fashion moment because she had that crushed velvet copper jacket on. Of course, lightly
Yeah.
covering up our favorite standard attire worn by her. You guessed it, the short dress and knee-high boots. But also, isn't it hot outside? This bitch is still living in Southern California, and we were talking about that last episode, but the wardrobe department really is all about the look versus the comfort and, the reality of life.
Yeah.
And side note, of course, the douche ringleader of the Core 4's asshole is named Kyle. I admittedly have never paid attention to what any of their names are in this episode. I've heard it, but I could, if you had been like up until the podcast, writing out the script and all that stuff and seeing their names actually in the script, I would have not been able to tell you any of their names. If you were like, Brandon, the Core 4's assholes' names, I would have been like, asshole number 1, asshole number 2, asshole number 3, hyena 1, hyena 2. What, like, I don't know. I never saw them.
Thing 1, thing 2.
I was always worried about Xander. I wasn't worried about the other people, even though they're douchebags. But speaking of being douchebags, Kyle greets Buffy with an, "Oh, look, it's Buffy and all her friends." "That's witty," Buffy states to them, chewing some gum. Then Tor insults her by asking, "Do you ever wonder why nobody cool wants to hang out with you?" Buffy, again with the sarcasm, tells them, "Nah."
Just thankful.
Rhonda questions if she was this popular at her old school before getting kicked out. This bothers Buffy. The group laughs and they continue on their way, but not before Tor jabs a final, "Careful, she might beat you up." Bothered a bit more, Buffy feels a little low in this moment. You like it because I know exactly how they say it in the episode. And you're like hearing it in your head. I know it. I heard that little laugh.
The scene.
I'm really painting the picture.
Doing a good job.
I love it. But for real, like what I was saying a minute ago, the quick intro of our resident 4 assholes, Buffy at first being unfazed by their remarks and slightly bothered when they continue to prod at her. I didn't expect her to give in that quick. I never really also stopped and really paid attention to her face when she first like hit them with the sarcasm and she was like, y'all can get the fuck out of my face. But then they started jabbing at her more and she's like, okay, these douchebags can make me feel a little low. And y'all should probably be more concerned because if she lays hands on y'all's asses, y'all gonna be dead in 4 seconds flat. It's like 1 second per person, Buffy will beat your ass.
I wonder if you have those abilities and people step to you and you just know like in advance, like, I would kill you with my fingertip, if you would even bother to shrug a shoulder their way because you're just like, oh.
In this instance, am I a vampire slayer?
No. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you have those abilities, would you even like waste your time because you already know it's a waste of time, or would you just out of principle kick their ass?
Yeah, right.
Or would you at least just kick one of their asses so the rest of them would get the picture and then hopefully they wouldn't fuck with you anymore?
They have their expression wrong place, wrong time for a reason. And they at the zoo in the middle of everybody on a school field trip. So I guess Buffy's going to mind her P's and Q's since she's already being watched half the time. Anyways, not by Principal Flutie because we know he's chill as fuck. But just in general, we don't want Buffy getting kicked out of school again and her mom have to be like, Buffy, you're ruining the positive vibes. They're not flowing anymore.
You don't want her to ruin her mom's delusion.
Yes, delusional Joyce. We cut to the elephants. Buffy is reading a plaque when Xander and Willow come running up to her, calling out their haze. Willow informing her that she's just missed it. Missed what? Buffy curiously asks. Xander saying,
"We just saw the zebras mating. Thank you, very exciting."
To which they both have grins to let us know that they did find the act very exciting. Willow goes on about how it was like the Heimlich.
With stripes.
Buffy, with mock disappointment, tells them, "And I missed it, yet somehow I'll find the courage to live on." She starts to walk off as they follow along. Willow asks where she was, Buffy stating that she was looking at the fishes. Willow asking if it was cool, Buffy unenthused stating it was fishes. Xander comments how she doesn't seem to be in the field trip spirit. She tells him that they did the same field trip at her old school, and it's same old, same old. He switches her perception by telling her it isn't just about looking at animals, it's about not being in class. She ponders this perspective, easily convinced, saying how he's right, and suddenly the animals look shiny and new. Props to Xander over here helping Buffy ponder perception. At a monkey exhibit, aka the Nyosi clan, we see a student writing about them in a notebook as the Core 4 assholes walk up behind him. Head troublemaker Kyle calls out, asking him how's it going. Lance awkwardly says, hey, and Kyle asks him if this is a family reunion, making an apparent joke about how Lance is obviously one of the monkeys. Lance disagrees, but Kyle is a douche and disagrees, saying he thinks it is, as the rest of the group laugh at his astounding bullying. He goes on about how he wishes he had a camera so he could, as he does what we will call the Chandler Bing wah-pa sound to snap a photo of the touching moment. He all pulled out the camera. He was like, I'm going to put the clip right here.
Whoopah!
It was so extra.
Tor steals his notebook and dangles it over his head. Lance grows distraught, asking for it back as they continue to tease him. What's going on here? Principal 𝙂𝙧 calls out as he approaches them all, informing the group that he's about to had enough of these four, asking again what they are doing. Cal assures him that they are up to nothing, and whatever he may have just saw was not what he saw. 𝙂𝙧 looks over to Lance, saying he wants the truth. Lance, afraid of what may come later and not wanting to appear weak, I guess, tells the principal they really weren't doing anything, just playing around. 𝙂𝙧 is convinced for now and leaves them all with an "I'll be watching you" as he walks away. They real lucky Lance stuck his neck out for them because 𝙂𝙧 looking for a reason to come down on y'all. We all know he's real close since it's been all of 5 minutes into the episode and y'all already displayed 40 possible ways for him to close in on y'all fuckers. Like,
Seriously.
the group looks on to Lance and commends him for not being a stick in the mud and having their backs. This has impressed them, we're led to believe, and they ask him to come along with them to another exhibit, the hyena house. Lance knows it's off limits and says as such, Kyle replying that this is where the fun lies, and they head off toward it. Lance excited they are being cool to him. We get one more quick shot of a monkey most likely named Grayson slinging a knapsack around before we pan to the hyena house exhibit, featuring caution tape and close signs. The group pass under the tape and walk into it just as Buffy, Willow, and Xander take notice to the group. Willow questioning what they are doing with Lance, Xander confirms they're most likely playing with him like a cat does with a mouse. Buffy and Willow exchange how they are asshats and obnoxious professionally. Xander saying, it's high school, right? It's high school rite of passage. You gotta have your mean kids.
Well, every school has them. So you start a new school, you get your desks, some blackboards, and some mean kids.
Buffy remarks how she better head in there to help Lance out. Xander halting her, saying he'll go in and handle it. This job doesn't call for actual slaying. He passes under the caution tape and also disappears. Buffy and Willow speak on how Xander should be fine. The group is mostly talk. Mostly. Them now nervous decide to head in also, but just as they go to enter, they are stopped by a zookeeper who catches them, telling them hyenas are quick to prey on the weak and they absolutely cannot go in there. It's restricted and anyone caught doing so will be in a lot of trouble. Willow quickly, with Buffy, motions toward him, agreeing that no, they weren't doing that at all, and how 6 others did not just also head in there, no sirree. Buffy asks, why is this exhibit even closed? He tells them that the hyenas just arrived from Africa and are under quarantine. He gives them a brief lesson, which is no doubt for us to know, along with the two, about how hyenas are known to learn and then call out people's names to separate them from their tribes, then attack them when they're alone to feast on them. Whoa moment though, what if Buffy had gone in there after Xander? This would have been a totally different episode. Shit, Willow also would have went in there. And of course, the Predator Act wouldn't have possibly occurred because Buffy would have stopped them all before they started fucking with Lance at the gauge. But that would have been like a vastly different episode if Buffy, Willow, Xander, and all them motherfuckers had been like some hyenas. Giles would have had his hands full the whole episode.
But then it makes sense later. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, he was watching and he like let the few go in that went in and then intentionally stopped them and was like, no.
Which is interesting though, because
I thought that already. I was like, oh, so he was probably watching them, knew what was going on.
But he didn't want them to
And
get the
then-
power. He didn't know that they were going to go in there, just like Giles comments later, talking about it must bug
But
you.
he wanted the ritual to happen, so he knew that they first had to go in there and initiate that whole situation with Xander in there so someone could get the spirit transferred to them, and then they have an extra person in the
So I
pack.
don't know that contextually that was what was supposed to happen, though, because he didn't know about the act. Giles informed him later of that was the missing link from the ritual was a predatory act. And he was like, what book did you find that in? Like, I'm sure I don't know if he did necessarily see that. I'm not trying to argue with you either, but like,
No, I just thought he was acting like he didn't know because he
That they
didn't want
went
to
in
let
there.
on to the fact that he's like the whole reason this is happening.
for sure.
basically.
I could see it probably both ways, but I would be left to believe that he didn't want them going in there because he wanted the power for himself. But I think he was still working on, since they
True,
were
yeah.
there recently, he was trying to get them to.
But didn't Giles point out like that all this stuff was in place already, like in the end?
It was painted out and stuff like that. The ritual on the floor. I think he was preparing, but he was still trying to find the missing information that he needed because I think he ordered them and got them sent there because he was obviously trying to get the spirit, and obviously hyenas being one of the most predatory of the predators, he was trying to get those ones specifically because he mentions that there was something wrong with these ones. And whenever they arrived, he got them, and he was still trying to do his research on them in general. Either that or he got them and noticed something weird about. I don't know. It's a lot of loose. There's a lot of loose
See,
ends right here.
I thought it was just all intentional. Like, I thought because he's the he's the leader of the pack, basically.
Yeah.
The only way for him to do that is to have a pack, so he needs hyenas first, so he ordered the hyenas. I just figured he lied to Buffy and Willow about there's something wrong with them because he knew he didn't want them to go in there because Xander needed to be in there with the other kid because they needed to sacrifice the other kid so that way Xander could be whatever possessed with a hyena
I
spirit.
guess if he was just going to do a ritual to take it back from them and stuff like that, but that doesn't track for me with him in the predatory act thing. But,
Yeah, I don't know.
whatever.
I guess it's up for
I get
speculation.
it though. I mean, it's interesting to see how you're reviewing it through
That's just
your
what I
eyes
took
and stuff.
away.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's what's right. That's just what I speculated on. I was like, I guess he just orchestrated this whole, like he was watching them go into the place from afar. He intentionally stopped Willow and Buffy because he wanted the guys to be in there,
Yeah.
whatever,
If anything,
you
maybe he
know.
wanted them to get fed or something like that too. All right, great. We see inside the exhibit the core four and Lance taking in the tribal art on the walls and display. Approaching the railing where the hyenas are in a pen, one looks up at Lance growling and he comments how they've seen it and now can go. Them hyenas, though, the prop team was really trying to do their best with that thing. It like looked up and started
Oh, God.
snarling, and I was like, "You better put your head back down." Lance
Yeah.
motions to leave, but Tor stops him. Rhonda comments on how she thinks it looks cute, while Cal thinks it looks hungry. They grab Lance and start pushing him toward the railing's edge, lifting him over slightly in efforts to scare him. Xander runs up to them and pulls Lance away from them, telling them to pick on someone their own species. Cal questions Xander, even stepping to them. As the two stand off, we hear the hyenas growling. They all look over just as the hyena's eyes flash neon yellow, and then Tor and Rhonda's eyes flash the same color. The hyena does this again, and Kyle and Heidi's flash this time. We get a shot from above the five, standing atop a red-painted tribal symbol on the ground, as that jungly music starts to play. I'll have to insert the clip here, so that way everybody knows what we're talking about. It's jungly music, tribal music. Lance looks freaked out and turns to run out of the exhibit, but slips and falls as the core four start to manically laugh at him. Cue the beginning of manic laughter the whole episode. He runs out, and then Xander turns around looking in that direction. We close on his face as he smirks along with the group, letting us know he has also been infected. And then we cue the Buffy theme. It's later that night, and we're at the Bronze. Willow and Buffy make their way from getting food to sit at a table, because of course Buffy's getting food. Willow commenting on how Xander's not there yet, and if Buffy thinks he was upset on the bus coming back from the zoo. He was quiet. Buffy comments on how she didn't realize, but not everyone hyper-focuses on Xander like, say, Willow. She doesn't constantly monitor his life, most famously noting how she knows his blood pressure, which is 130/80, if any of you guys wanted to know. Also, Courtney, what's my blood pressure?
What's mine? Exactly.
All right, great. Anyways, Buffy tells Willow she's got it bad for him. Willow agrees that he makes her head go tingly, rhetorically asking Buffy if she knows what she means. Not of late, Buffy says, and Willow smirks, not even for a dangerous and mysterious older man whose jacket you're wearing right now. Because, Buffy's wearing Angel's jacket still. Sexy mama. She said, oh boy. Buffy smirks, telling her it goes with the shoes. Willow doesn't believe her, telling her, come on, Angel pushes your buttons. Buffy gives in and says that she supposes some girls may find him good looking. Neither are convinced, and she adds, if they have eyes, all right, he's a honey, going on to say that he's just never around, and when he is, he only wants to talk vampires and such. She starts to mention how she can't have a relationship when we hear the Bronze door open, and Willow giddy says, there he is. Buffy looks up, hoping for Angel, but it's Xander. As he enters, girls take notice to him, and he joins them at the table, digging into Buffy's buttery croissant, a starving Marvin. Willow asks if he still wants to meet up for a study sesh the next day. He says yes, and comments how he needs real food and is displeased with Buffy's food decision. Buffy asks, what's up with you? Willow insecurely asks if it's something that she did wrong. Did she do something? He disagrees and shrugs it off to being restless. Willow suggests going to get ice cream, but he says he likes it there. While scratching at his chest, he leans over and takes a whiff of Buffy's perfectly blown out hair. Okay, now what? She asks. You took a bath, he announces. She exclaims, yeah, I do that often. I'm actually known for it. That's okay, he replies. They're probably like, what the fuck are you doing? Buffy's probably like, okay, here goes upstairs Xander, what my puss again.
Valid.
If that's what they were saying in 1997, who knows? Not me. Her and Willow stare at him for a moment, and then they remark.
And the Weird Behavior Award goes to...
At that moment, the bronze door opens once more, and we see the core four assholes walk in, who Buffy refers to as the winged monkeys. I noticed for the first time here as well that when they are around Xander in the beginning and just in general the rest of the episode, you can hear like the little hyena hums, like them calling after each other.
I think I noticed it. Does it do it at the end of toward the end of the episode when they're like approaching, I guess, the building, the library,
like outside
or
of Willow,
something?
like when they're like scratching the windows and shit. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think I noticed it then, and then I was questioning if it was happening like throughout the whole thing, and I just didn't notice.
Yeah.
It, so obviously.
They take notice of Xander, and they all just stare at one another. We can hear primal hyena noises, the ones I just mentioned. He watches as they move over to a section where a boy sits, who they claim is taking up their seats with his heavy-set body shape. Laughing at him for fat-shaming jokes, Xander chuckles along with them and looks back to the girls at his table. They are confused, and Buffy gives him an eye-opening glare, and he says, "What? Kid's fat." Fucking asshole. Now we're fat-shaming in the episode. Check one for Xander of annoyance. Ooh, we get another Buffy bubble ring. It's clear this time. The purple is still my favorite, but she's got that clear bubble ring on. So we just have to throw that out there for you. And also the full clarity that we get here that it's officially no secret. Willow is in love with Xander. I know we got nods to this, and it's now finally, obviously, as I was just saying, came full circle. But in Teacher's Pet, we arrived at this fact when she was upset that Xander was going to get his head eaten off. And then also the second full clarity moment that Buffy is admitting that she's into Angel. And I wonder how this will play out deeper, especially with the next episode being named and entitled Angel.
Ooh.
Yes. This scene ends, and we jump to the next day at school. Buffy is seen kicking and punching at a padded Giles. The two are training. After a slew of them, Giles backs off, dodging her last effort, saying that he's had enough training. Buffy commenting on her last roundhouse being sloppy. Should she try it again? He remarks, no, that's fine, panting out of breath, that she should head to class. Buffy shrugs to leave, and he walks towards his office saying, while I wait for the feeling to return to my arms. I think it's cute that this is the first time that we see Buffy and Giles physically training together. It will not be the last, but I was like, look at the little Slayer and Watcher, like, having their little moment.
I thought it was precious.
Precious, that's the word I was looking for. Like 𝙑𝙬 in that one movie called Precious. Out in the Sunnydale halls, we are in a POV shot of something running low to the ground as students hop out of the way, and Principal Flutie is chasing it. We see Buffy come into frame and scoop up a pig who is dressed in a football helmet adorning tusks, a foam razored back padding attached to its torso, and Flutie telling the students to meet Herbert, the new school mascot. Buffy comments on how he's so cute, just like him and Buffy training in the library 2 seconds ago. Adorably precious. Flutie saying he's not, he's a fierce razorback. Also notating that he is a fortune to feed and how he needs to get him back to his cage. Trying to take him from Buffy, the pig squeals disturbed, and he motions for Buffy to come along with him to deliver him to said cage. Outside in the courtyard, Willow and Xander are seen studying, and Xander is hella frustrated. Willow is trying to be patient with him, but he's going off about how he can't get it, and why does he need to learn this? Her noting that he will flunk math otherwise, him replying, and that's bad, why? And she tells him because if so, he'll end up working at the pizza place and asking all the young kids where the cool parties are. He's rubbing his head annoyed, and she asks if he has a headache, and then touches the side of his head as he jerks her hand away from him, saying, yeah, he does. And then he tosses the math book into the trash can like I used to basically do in high school, and says, oh my God, it's all better now. Willow is unpleased with this decision because she loves math, and has this long draw out of his name, Xander. We gotta do your math homework, buddy, or you're gonna be at that pizza place I just mentioned, or the ice cream shop, since I love ice cream so much, apparently. She's always trying to get some boy to go get ice cream with her. Episode 1, she got that vampire going to get some ice cream, and she's like, the cemetery is not a cut through. And now she over here talking about Xander, let's go get ice cream. I'm just saying it's a theme.
Mind you, the first episode when she did that was like 12:30 at night, and now they're in the middle of a school day. So I'm like, where are you going, by the way?
I know they were at the Bronze whenever she was talking about ice cream.
I know, but where are they going in the middle of the school day? Like, she's like, let's cut class so we can get some ice cream.
In my story, that's what happened. Right now, she's trying to do that math homework, and Xander's pissed the fuck off. Anyways, he's throwing that math book in the trash, and she's upset at him. He looks at her and snaps and says, look, I don't get it. I won't ever. I don't care. He throws his notebook into her lap, getting up and walking away, leaving her there. Once again, Willow's left there alone and sad. She's like, oh, this boy. Teenagers. Inside the school, we see Buffy at the office door frame with Flutie, still holding the pig as he undresses Herbert and takes his attire into the room for storage. We get a shot of Xander walking back into the school and by Buffy and Herbert as he totally starts to squeal and wig the fuck out until Xander passes, leaving Buffy there looking mad curious of this interaction. Quick shot to a thunderstorm occurring outside as we arrive in the school gym just as the gym's teacher comments on the rain outdoors and how they will have to be inside today. That means indoor dodgeball. He holds out the ball and comments on how the rules are as follows. You dodge. I did not understand what he meant by this. Tossing the ball to Buffy because, she's our shining slayer, so she's got to be the one, the show's named after. She's got to get the ball first. Dividing the sides of teams into two, blowing a whistle, and the game starts. Xander's on the opposing group with other students, of which some include Lance and the core 4 assholes, while Buffy's team of students includes Willow. Students are hit and sent out one by one. A couple times, one of the core 4 directly aim at Buffy, who is an excellent dodger, the less fortunate from each team being outed. We get a shot of Willow about to toss a ball at a student when Xander aggressively throws a ball and tags her out the match. You out, bitch. Willow is stunned. Because we all know friends aren't supposed to hit you until they absolutely have to when you play dodgeball. Courtney, if we was on opposing team and you threw that ball in my fucking face, I'm coming for that neck, like Nixon.
First off, it's not even about the order for me. If you're my friend and you're throwing that fucking dodgeball at me, that better be the lightest you ever tossed a ball at someone ever. You better not even pretend this is dodgeball. This better be turning into a whole new ass fucking game.
She said that better be a
What are
ping
you
pong
doing?
ball.
He's trying to decapitate her hereditary. The damn dodgeball. I'm like, all right, I'm done already.
Oh, me too. There we go with our hereditary drop. Maybe we'll have another one. We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, Willow is stunned. She looks very upset with a dropped jaw and slowly walks off to sit as Xander watches her. They diminish the rest of Buffy's team, leaving her standing there solo. The now core 5 assholes and Lance versus Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They take notice to the display of equal match and turn around to face Lance on their team, turning on him, one after the other, slamming their balls at Lance, who falls to the ground. Buffy runs over to him, helping him up as he motions behind her as Buffy stares at Xander face to face, and the core 5 walk off and out of the gym. As the gym teacher notes, God, this game is brutal. I love it. I also loved dodgeball in elementary school. I have not played dodgeball since it, but we played outside and stuff. But when we had gym class in elementary school, we would be going outside to play dodgeball. I was always so excited. Or kickball. I liked kickball too, which is essentially baseball with a ball that you kick. There's no bat.
You're right.
Yeah, but dodgeball's legit.
Because they want the students to murder each other.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves the aggression. He's like, this is a primal force. I can sense it. Are any of you hyenas, perhaps? Outside in the halls, we see Willow leaning against some lockers waiting. Ugh, this scene. The core 5 change from their gym clothes and arrive in the hall, and Willow calls out to Xander. She walks up to him and asks what's wrong with him. He pulls her away from the gang, but not far enough to where they are alone, commenting on how he guesses she's taken notice to him acting differently around her. She gives him the biggest yes. He tells her that his feelings for her have been changing, and they've been friends for such a long time that he feels the need to tell her something. We see Buffy come around the corner in this instance and stand at her locker. She can hear them also now. Willow looks at him with doughy eyes as if he's going to tell her what she's been wanting to hear, because it's known fact that sometimes when a boy is mean to you, it's because he likes you. Well, not this time, Willow, sorry. He goes on to say,
I've decided to drop geometry, so I won't be needing your math help anymore. Which means I won't have to look at your pasty face again.
He lets out the biggest chuckle in her face as the core 4 laugh out loud along with him. Willow, shattered, turns and walks off past Buffy, who slams her locker door the fuck shut, locking eyes with Xander, walks directly up to him as they all stop laughing.
You gonna say something to me?
She asks. He stares momentarily before him and his, what can now safely be called, his pack, start to laugh hysterically again. He turns from her and joins them laughing, walking down the hall together. I'm going to talk real quick about how the power dynamic at the end of the dodgeball game when the pack sees Buffy as an equal match and they turn on their own teammate, of course being Lance, unfortunately, symbolism there for that. But they knew they couldn't take her, and I'm pretty sure that the wild animals would do the exact same thing if they saw an equal match for it. They're going to go for the weakest link, which is obviously what they displayed in the episode.
Yeah.
But I like that they took that take to do it. It's one of my favorite scenes because it's very harsh. I mean, God, I love it. This dodgeball game is so aggressive. But no, for real, It's an interesting thing that we see there. I know this isn't Xander to his fullest extent, but you can feel and see Willow's upset all across it. And especially later when she's crying with Buffy, Allison Hannigan does some great work with her like acting in the scene. It really like brings her out of her shell because we haven't seen her get like emotional. But she's like, when Willow's tears are flowing, my tears are flowing because I was over here crying with Willow and I'm like, I know exactly what happens and I'm not even worried about you in this instance. But like, what? Poor Willow.
I know, I felt so sad for her, but I do think, and I wanted to note that they did a good job at just, you kind of know that it's just an evolution of what's going to happen or what could happen. Like, you know that this is just evolving for Xander and it's not just going to be him talking shit to Willow. And
Yeah.
then that's like, or him talking shit, period. Like, you know that this is, they're setting things up. They're breadcrumbing us, into the episode, basically foreshadowing, like, brace yourself.
They're laying out the strips of bacon. Crunchy. But my last piece of my notes said that her confronting Xander here is exactly what a real friend would be doing or thinking. Outside the school, the pack walk, but are drawn to the smell in the air. Dogs, Xander states as they walk over to the table where fellow students are having school hot dog lunch and just grab their food and start eating it. The boy at the table commentates on how this is really uncool, and they all silence him by saying they're sharing. They spit out the hot dogs, displeased, as this being an unsavory meal. It's too well done, Tor says, throwing a hot dog back at one of them. A random side note, too, the boy that's sitting at the table that asks Xander about music whenever they walk up is the same dude from The Harvest in the computer lab with Cordelia, Harmony, and Willow, the little surfer dude that, like,
Whoa. Yeah.
he didn't have, like, a surfer-esque vibe or what do I want to call that? Lingo, word, voice, vernacular. Like
That aesthetic.
it was
Yeah.
not there, but it was the same guy, the same actor. I think that's the second and last appearance of him in the Buffy series. But yeah, that was him.
Nice.
Xander sniffs the air again, and the group walks off in search of more food. Unfortunately, they arrive in the classroom where Herbert is caged. They encircle him, closing the blinds to the room and staring at him. Xander tells the group, "Let's do lunch," as they all cackle maniacally, and Herbert begins to scream in terror as we fade to black. It's not Herbie fully loaded anymore. It's not Babe picking the city anymore. No, but they ate Herbert. I felt so bad for that. I know they didn't really eat the pig. Like, I mean, in the episode they did. In real life, I was like, what did they do to make that pig so scared? I don't like pigs like that. Caitlin McLeod's got like 27 of them at her house. And I'd be like, Caitlin, you need to stop with all the pigs.
Sound like Taylor's sister. I thought the same thing, though, in the clip or in the scene where Xander walks by and Buffy's holding the pig and the pig like really starts squealing. I had the exact same thought. I was like, but what do they do on set in that instance? Like, are they like, pinch them real hard right here? I need to know. I know. And then I wonder if she's like hating herself while she's doing it. She's like, God fucking damn it, I hate this fucking dog.
They're like, hey, Sarah, can you take that bubble ring you have and just jam it and like.
That's why she has it's really like a prop to abuse like animals and people on set. Like, and don't just pretend you hit this person. Hit them with your bubble ring so it looks more real. So they bleed a little.
I'm dead.
We can't afford the fake blood. I'm dead.
All right, great. Having finished their meal and now satiated, the pack is seen outside again in an astonishing 90s-style slow-mo walk sequence as grunge music plays and students watch them. They are superior to them now, and everyone seems to be timid of the group. The 90s-style slow-mo walk, it reminds me of the iconic moments from like The Craft or Jawbreaker or The Faculty.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched The Faculty?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because that's one of my favorite movies. And the song playing in the scene, in case everybody wants to know, is Job Eyes by a band called Far. Just F-A-R. That's it. I didn't want you to think I was saying by far. It's just Far. The group stops their walk as Xander takes notice up above the staircase to Buffy and Willow sitting talking. He stares them down because he's a fucking creep at this point. From their point of view, we join in their convo. Willow is bawling her poor little eyes out, noting that she's known him forever and he's never ever been mean to her before. Buffy tells him she thinks something's wrong with him. Well, no fucking shit, Buffy. Willow remarks back, or maybe there's something wrong with her. Ugh, I hate when people do this and they like put them like, Willow, stop. It's not the case. But Buffy says, Willow, that's not the case, and consoles her, asking, what is she talking about? He replies, oh, come on, he's not picking on you, Buffy, just sniffing you a lot. And how maybe 3 isn't company anymore. A fun little nod to 3's company, too. Back in the little, 80s show, early 90s? I don't remember. I wasn't alive. But I was, because I was born in 1990. Buffy is confused why Willow thinks it has anything to do with her, and this whole thing doesn't explain why he's hanging out with the core 4 assholes. She gets up to leave Willow, saying something is going on, something weird. She asks Buffy what she's going to do. Buffy replying she's going to go talk to the expert on weird. Buffy Slayer sensing coming to a head here. An Anthony Stewart head, if you will, to be in fact. Let's go talk to Giles. In the library, Buffy follows Giles out of his office as he's asking, so Xander's taking to teasing the less fortunate. There's a notable change to his clothes and demeanor, and all his spare time is spent lounging about with imbeciles. All to which Buffy states, yes, it's bad, isn't it? He agrees that this is devastating. He's turned into a 16-year-old boy, walking off concluding that of course she'll have to kill him. Her stating Giles is serious, following after him, but so is he, except for the killing part. He comments on how testosterone is a great equalizer, turning all men into morons, and how he will, however, get over it. Buffy snaps that she cannot believe that him, of all people, are trying to Scully her, and that there is something supernatural at work here, tying us back to Scully Me, a call and direct nod to the hit 90s show The X-Files, featuring Scully the Skeptic, who is the woman that walks around with Mulder. Mulder's the believer, and Scully is the skeptic in the show. I don't know if you ever watched The X-Files, but I've seen a lot of season 1, and I still need to watch the rest of it, because apparently if you like Buffy, they say you should watch The X-Files. And I'm trying to do so, but I started it a year ago, and I haven't picked it back up yet. I'm too busy rewatching Buffy 274 times. Get your books, look stuff up, she demands. Look under what? He asks. I don't know, that's your department, she whines. Him inferring that the evidence she's presented is sketchy at best. He scared the pig, she lets out as he looks at her with the, I'll say as a sexy smirk, because Giles be looking sexy. Well, he did. She looks defeated. He goes on to tell her that boys can be cruel. They tease, they prey on the weak. It's natural teen behavior. Something in her head clicks. She states, what did you just say? As he repeats the tease part, they prey on the weak, she says. I've heard that somewhere before. Her gears begin to turn, and then they halt. She's figured it out. The zoo. Xander's been acting totally wiggy since then, and here we get our wig watch because Buffy's using the word wig. We're going to have to compensate on it every single time. But also, Buffy is the best at the game Connect the Dots, I swear. If you got a game of Connect the Dots, Buffy is going to play and win. Ever since him and the Core 4 assholes went into the hyena den, remarking on their laughs. Oh yeah, she goes, oh God, that laugh. Giles looks on to her, asking, are you saying that Xander's becoming a hyena? And he chuckles a little bit. Buffy's like, what the fuck, why don't you believe me? But he's being sarcastic. Buffy comments that maybe he's been possessed by one. Not just him, though, all of them. As he starts to say he's never heard of that before, Willow comes into the library, frantic, saying that they found Herbert dead and also eaten. How Principal Flutie is freaking the fuck out. Testosterone, huh? Buffy looks at Giles, being a smartass, who turns around walking off. Willow asks what he's going to do, and he says he's going to get his books and look stuff up. Again, all thanks to Buffy for arriving at the fact of possession and figuring this shit out. Here we go. Like I said, connect the dots, Buffy. Her name is not Buffy, it's Dottie. Dottie the Vampire Slayer. For the 400th time this episode, we cut to outside as the Core 4 sit on a table. Principal Flutie walks up to them, clearly having been searching for them. You four, he calls out. What? Kyle asks. Oh, don't play dumb with me, Flutie continues, and how the Core 4 were spotted outside by kids by Herbert's room. You're busted, and you're going down, he exclaims.
How is Herbert?
Rhonda asks, while Hattie smirks at Flutie, saying,
Crunchy.
The four laugh, and Flutie, pissed, tells them, that's it, everyone to his office right the hell now. Threatening generational detention at them. I thought that shit was funny. He said, like, I'm going to have you in detention so long that your grandkids that come to this school are still going to be in detention.
I wrote that in my notes. I can't.
Oh, shit was funny. I was like, oh, shit. I was like, watch me use some shit like this as a parent. I feel like parents do say that shit. I'm not going to say that, actually. I changed my mind. I'm real quick on going back on my thoughts today.
I was going to say, you're real quick on changing your mind today.
In the library, Buffy and Willow are researching and listing off the bad that is hyenas in the animal kingdom's world. Willow questions why Xander couldn't be possessed by a puppy or cute duckies. Buffy saying that's even if possession is the right word, just as Giles informs that he does believe so, and how the Messiah of the Serengeti have spoken on animal possession for generations, and how he should have remembered this. Giles, duh, you should have. He goes on to school them on how primals saw animals as true holy states and how they use transpossession to draw certain animals into themselves, and how only predatory animals were typically of interest to the primals. Buffy asks him what happens to the person once the spirit's in them. If it goes unchecked, he notes, handing over a book that's open to Buffy. She looks at the page and slaps the book closed, sets it down and leaves, stating she's got to find Xander. Willow picks the book up and opens it back up to the page where we see a passage with artwork illustrating a slew of dismembered bodies of the dead. About Xander eat up or the people that they killed. I didn't really get that with the illustration, but I was thinking, do they end up dead or they like cannibalize each other or some shit and like pick each other off? Or is that just like bodies that they left behind? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah, me either.
Regardless, there are going to be some dead people if they don't get these people transpossessed. That's all it is. Buffy arrives in the teacher's lounge that once held Herbert. We see his cage bent to hell and back and hay strewn around the floor with bones as she kneels down to pick one up. We see Xander walking up behind her. She gets up to turn around and is jump scared by him. I want to say they picked that bone clean. It's not my notes, but that bone was like a bone on the floor. So they like chiseled all the tendons, all the muscle, like every single thing uncooked off that fucking pig. There was bones left. I'm surprised they didn't gnaw on that shit like dogs do.
I'm surprised they didn't like floss their teeth with it or something.
Buffy about to floss Xander's teeth apparently with a death. Oops, sorry, Xander.
Not sorry.
She says his name. He just stares at her. She motions quickly to move around him, but he mimics her motion, blocking her from exiting. She tells him that this is ridiculous and how they need to talk. Acting like she's gonna settle down, she leaps onto him, falling onto the floor with him. Over top of him, he lets out, "Been waiting for you to jump my bones." As we cut back and forth between them and Flutie in his office with the Core 4 for several motions. Flutie is in there lecturing them on how he's seen some sick shit in his life, but how this is beyond, remarking if they are on drugs. How could they? A poor defenseless pig. He's so dramatic.
A poor defenseless pig.
Rest in peace, Flutie. We hear the hyena noises starting as the four encircle him and draw in closer. He takes notice, asking them what are they doing. We see Xander flip Buffy and mount her, binding her wrist. "Get off me," she grunts. "Is that really what you want?" She struggles. "We both know what you really want," he continues. "You want danger, don't you? You like your men dangerous." She tries to argue he's in trouble, that he's infected with some hyena thing, a demonic possession. He follows up with,
Dangerous and mean, right? Like Angel, your mystery guy. Well, guess who just got mean?
Okay, first of all, he's just a mystery guy. Angel hasn't been mean at all. What is he talking about like your guy's mean? They don't even know anything about Angel yet. They just know that he's like some looming, creepy guy that gives Buffy cryptic information. They must have already recorded episode 7 before this one.
I like how he's like possessed and he's just like doing this as an act of quote unquote like primal aggression. However, in real time, he's still referencing Angel, indicating that he's like intentionally honing in on this bitch because he's fucking jealous. And I was like, you toxic bitch.
Cutting back to Flutie, who moves away from the 4 behind his desk, saying that they need to quit. They'll only make matters worse. He tells them that he's going to call their parents to come get their asses, and he grabs at the phone. Tor puts a hand over it. Flutie looks appalled, and he picks up the phone and hands it over to Flutie. As he starts to dial, Rhonda tears the phone off the desk and engages him. He's fed up and yells, "That is it!" and goes to leave, but Kyle growls at him as he falls into his office chair. Xander with Buffy is telling her that he's waited a long time for her to stop pretending that they aren't attracted. She kicks him off of her and hops to her feet, defense stance. He continues, until Willow stops kidding herself that he could settle with anyone but Buffy. He's walking toward her as she paces backward. "Look, Xander, I don't want to hurt you," she states. He rushes at her, grabbing her violently, slamming her backwards into a vending machine. "Now do you want to hurt me?" he remarks. "Come on, Slayer. I like when you're scared." She struggles some more as he finishes. "The more I scare you," he sniffs around her face, "the better you smell." As he nestles his face into her neck, the pack hover over Flutie, hyena howling and laughing. He stands up threatening expulsion or talking to the school counselor as Tord jumps onto his desk. Flutie screams for him to get down as Rhonda claws his face with her nails, drawing blood as he falls back into his chair, grabbing his cheek. They begin their hyena laughs as he asks if they are insane.
Are you insane?
They close in on him as Tor leaps off the desk onto him, toppling the chair backwards, and they all go in at him as we pan to a framed photo of poor dear Mr. Flutie on his desk, looking happier than ever as we hear hyena laughs and shredding flesh. All right, we've arrived at the talk that needs to be had in some way, shape, or form. These scenes are rough. The show gets real dark right here. The implications of attempted rape. Thank God he pulled this shit on Buffy, because that statement is awful to say enough as it is, but like anyone else would not have been able to handle herself unless they take jujitsu or something as such, or an Vampire Slayer. I mean, girls go through this so often that it's sickening. And often cannot defend themselves or are too afraid to or freeze up. But this shit to me is fucking wild. I can't believe they included this in an episode, and its counterpart scene in Flutie's office, they're just two unspeakable acts in my mind because I don't know which one's worse.
It is, though. I see what you're saying. The way that they not only push the envelope with the one issue of like a sexual assault situation unfolding, but then you simultaneously have like cannibalism going on. I'm just like, holy fucking shit,
Yeah.
dude. What
I
happened?
know. It's crazy because
Yeah.
they ate him. So it's literally an unspeakable act. The two horrors in life you just hope never fucking happen to you literally are happening on the screen right now. This shit goes there.
Yeah.
We will talk more about Xander in a little bit because when we close out, we
Crazy.
will go into detail about him. But whoo, Xander, you got to come in. I can keep staying. And then we'll like you again in season 5. In the library, we see a video playing. Willow is watching a real wild hyenas gnawing at meat of prey they've killed. It's our cutscene magic that they do with the stuff where like they finish up eating Principal Flutie and then it immediately cuts to like what we would have seen if we could have seen him getting fucking ripped up and shit. The door to the library opens and she looks over to see Buffy dragging Xander in by his jacket. Hurry, we got to get him locked up somehow before he comes to. Willow asks, oh my God, Xander, what happened? Buffy stating, she hit him. As you should have, Buffy, good for you. With what? Willow questions and Buffy replies,
A desk.
and how he tried his hand at felony sexual assault. Willow opens the cage door that houses book returns, and Buffy drags him in. Willow is appalled and starts to question how far he got. Buffy notating he didn't get far before the desk, but it's safe to say that his animal state doesn't involve a Yanni CD and a bottle of Chianti wine. She locks the cage, asking where's Giles. Willow informing he got called off to some teacher's meeting. Willow asks what are they going to do? How will they get Xander back? Buffy commenting she's a little more curious as to what the other four are up to at the moment, as Giles is seen walking back into the library. He slowly paces back, and he states the rest of the pack were spotted outside Herbert's cage and then sent to the principal's office. Willow announcing, good, that'll show him. Giles looks at her grievously. They didn't hurt him, did they? Buffy questions. Giles sighs. They, ate him. Willow sits down, and Buffy's dumbstruck.
They ate Principal Flutie? Ate him up?
Willow adds, what? They ate him up? Like, I was like, oh, Willow.
Stand up. So cute.
He tells them the official theory is wild dogs got into his office. No one witnessed anything, though. Willow thankful that Xander didn't cause this because he was with Buffy. Giles looks over to see Xander passed out and locked in the cage. Buffy asks, how do they stop this? How do they transpossess him? Giles isn't sure, but comments how in his research he's found a ritual and talks of a predatory act and how they can transfer them into another human being, but that won't help. And Buffy says we need to get them back into the hyena. And maybe they should speak with the zookeeper. Maybe he didn't quarantine them because they were sick. No, because he was over here trying to get in their bodies, like get them in his, like what the fuck? Giles agrees. Willow offers to watch Xander while the two go talk to him. They leave her with him and she slips the key to the cage back into her pocket. Momentary pause because we got to say rest in peace to Principal Flutie here, even though I just said it a little bit ago, but I wrote it in my notes. Our second big death this season after Jesse, our favorite fallen beloved. Just kidding. Who's Jesse?
His 5 minutes.
His 5 minutes of fame. Sorry, the harvest is over, buddy. In a quick cutscene, somewhere in residential woods, a woman is seen on a walk with her baby strapped to her back. She stumbles upon the core four sleeping on the ground together. Awakening them, they take notice to her and begin to growl and step toward her. One of them drooling, looking feral, she backs away whimpering and runs off quickly as they resume their sleeping position. I guess we just had to find out what the core four were doing because apparently nothing but hanging out in the woods sleeping. Because they had a big meal. The Xander's awake and alert, apparently. And, well, no, he's not because he's knocked out in the fucking cage. Never mind. Back in the library, we see Xander waking up. Oh, okay, guess he's not knocked out anymore. He said, my nap is done. He said, I need more food. He asks, what's he doing in there? Willow asks how he's feeling, and he replies like someone hit me with a desk, and how he seems to be locked up. Willow says, Buffy says he's sick, so therefore he's locked up. He shits on Buffy and says he disagrees that Buffy's trying to help and save their lives. Xander notes that before she came around, it was just him and her. Times were simpler then. She steps toward him at the cage. He rambles on about how he knows something is wrong with him, and he knows it's getting worse, and how he wants her to help him. He gives her forgiving eyes. He goes on to discredit Buffy, and if he's so dangerous, why would they leave her alone with him? Willow replies she told her to, and she knows him better than her, and she wanted to be there when he woke up to see if he was still him. He says, you know I am. Look at me. She stares. He says, look. She steps a little closer to him and gently says his name. Xander. She doesn't say it like that. But either way, we see his arm come through the book drop slot and grab at her violently. She steps back quickly. Having played him, she looks at him and states with a smirk,
Now I know.
he starts freaking the fuck out, kicking and hitting the cage, screaming over and over, "Let me out, let me out." I have the clip here. Here it goes. Willow is so cunning, though, and smart. Xander's douchebag ass, he got caught. That's all I'm gonna say. I have it in my notes. But the women in this show are fucking gems because Willow ain't letting nothing get by her. I guess they set it up that way so he could see the key. But when she put that in her pocket, like the key was still hanging out. It has one of those little like plaques or a key card or something to where she could slip it in her pocket. The key could still hang out and he could visibly see it. But he didn't get that key. Anyways, we cut to an office in the zoo where Buffy and Giles have caught the zookeeper up to the student's possession. He doesn't seem to be too alarmed, and Giles remarks how he's taking this rather surprisingly well. The keeper states that as soon as they came in, he noticed that there was something strange about them. So he researched them, and that breed he found to be vicious and rare, and how historically they were worshipped by these guys. Giles telling him, the primals. Yes, I've read that book. He replies, creepy guys, and how they had rituals for taking hyena spirits. But he doesn't see how that could have happened to the students. Giles informs him that they don't exactly know how the ritual works, but they do know it involves a predatory act and some kind of symbol. Clued in, zookeeper. The zookeeper repeats, a predatory act. Where did you read that? Giles starts to tell him about the book that he found it in. Before the two geek out, Buffy stops them saying, guys, we don't have time to gush. Good for you, Buffy, because Giles over here handing out all the missing information this motherfucker needs. Shut him the fuck up, like Giles. Giles, we need to knock you unconscious like you'll be in 15 minutes. The keeper thinks they have enough info to transpossess the kids and mentions that they need to get them to the hyena exhibit immediately. Of course you do. You need to transpossess yourself and get them out and put them into you.
Okay.
Buffy stating that they can guarantee one, but not all four because the other ones are missing. The keeper says he wouldn't need to worry about that, informing them that after hyenas feed and rest, they will track down any missing members till they find him, and how they should come right to them. Buffy is alarmed and says Willow's name aloud. As we cut back to the library where Willow is still watching the hyena videos as Xander paces in the cage behind her. I would not be still sitting here watching these videos knowing that this is what could possibly happen after a Duty got eat up. Like, why aren't you watching The Little Mermaid or something like that to make you put, like, in a good mood? I don't know.
Or why do you keep watching the same part over and over? Just keep watching the rest of the video. Like, she steady rewinding when watching the hyenas eat. And I'm like, okay, but at this point, I'm a little concerned. Like, are you so obsessed with Xander? You're like, at this point, I'm going to sacrifice myself.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, Willow.
You never know.
He calls her name out and she declares she's not listening. Moments go by and we start to see in the windows the core four assholes outside looking in at her. Taunting her, calling out her name. She thinks it's Xander again as she turns around to tell him to shut up, what we all would be screaming consistently at the screen by this point, but Willow saying what we all been saying since episode 1, shut up, Xander.
Literally.
Kyle calls out to her again, and her eyes meet up with him in the window. They smash in as she gets up to run out of the library. The core four enter and break Xander out of the cage, displaying the strength, acting like them vampires in the harvest, ripping down that door cage because that's made of metal just like that door I mentioned, sniffing all over him once they break him free, happy for their reunion. Courtney, this is how we need to be acting every time we get together for our Hesh unions.
Yeah.
We see Willow run into a classroom as they enter the hall, sniffing her out. She moves to hide under a desk, pulling a chair in to conceal her. Xander and Heidi enter the room she's in, sniffing around. They can't visibly see anyone in there, and he motions for her to leave. And they seemingly leave the room. The door closes. Willow waits a moment, then gets out from the desk and turns to see Xander still in the room with her. She screams as he leaps toward her over the desk, and she flees around it, tossing a desk toward him as he stumbles over it. She reaches for the door, opening it, running into Heidi, who is grinning at her and growling, just as Buffy comes up, smashing her in the back of the head with his fire extinguisher. Xander lunges at Buffy. She kicks him out of the room. The pack sees them all and rushes towards them as Buffy closes herself with Giles and Willow in the room, holding the door shut. They bang for a bit, but then leave, Buffy saying they're going to find food and apologizing to Willow about leaving her alone. Giles tells her we must lead them back to the zoo, and how individually they are almost as strong as Buffy, but as a group, Buffy cutting him off to agree that they're tough, but they're getting also stupider. She tells them to get to the zoo, and she will go lead them there as she exits the classroom, sending us into the final act of the episode. A father, a mother, oh my God. No, this scene. Oh, I'm dead. A father, mother, and son family, a scene exiting their home, moving toward their vehicle as the dad is exclaiming to his wife that he didn't say she looks better than you, just that she looks better. How is that any different, though? She says she heard what she heard. Their kids slobbing on an ice cream that Willow probably wants to go get at this point as well, now that I'm thinking about it. She scolds him. Joey, chew. You have to chew or you'll choke. This mom over here giving Thomas's dad. Chew, Joey.
Poor Joey.
Listen. Chew, Joey. You need to chew. Silence and no reply because he just looked at her. Joey, I'ma really need you to acknowledge me when I'm talking to you.
And Joey's appropriately giving back Thomas.
Exactly. I've literally am ruined. One day we're going to have to tell the story on here because no one knows what the hell we're talking about when we talk about Thomas's dad or Thomas at the airport. But you guys, we got a fun story for you. Today is not the day because we got too much going on. But we will one day tell you the story of what we're the fuck talking about because I keep it in every podcast because it's to make Courtney laugh or make myself laugh. In turn, it'll make all you guys laugh. We'll make t-shirts that say Thomas's dad.
We have to...
Thomas, the dad's there.
Thomas the dad, the master.
Basically. Buffy needs a slam. They all get into the Jeep, and the dad can't seem to find his keys. We hear voices calling out, Joey. Joey. From outside the car. The family looks around as Kyle lowers a hanging head to Joey's window, snarling at him. Joey shits his pants, and his mom screams. The rest of the pack surrounding the car, banging on it, laughing and hitting the windows, eventually breaking the back glass. To Joey, Xander reaches in, grabbing him. Hanging halfway in, Buffy runs up and grabs Rhonda, tossing her off the hood, climbs onto the top, kicks Kyle off, and then leans down to Xander, still hanging halfway in. Didn't your mom teach you? Don't play with your food. Xander backs out, looking up at her, and meets eyes with her on top of the Jeep. She stands there and places her hands on her hips. Come on, you know what you want, she provokes the pack. She hops down and runs off as the pack chases after her down the street. I wrote in my notes, ooh, Buffy standing up on top of that Jeep with her hands on her hips. Then we dip. But that power stance, she is the moment clip. Insert here. I'm not going to actually play it, but like Buffy, when she put her hands on her hips and I was just like, she better bust y'all asses. She's hot. Sam Keller is hot. Anyways, Willow and Giles arrive at the zoo's exhibit, caution taped entrance. Her asking, where's the zookeeper? Giles saying he must be inside already. He crosses under the tape, telling Willow to stay there and yell when they are coming, and he will head inside to help the keeper prepare. We get shots of Buffy running through the woods, the pack close on her tail. Giles makes it to the exhibit, calls out to the zookeeper, who comes in the room spooking Giles, wearing a robe and his face painted ceremoniously. Giles complimenting him on his said Messiah ceremonial garbs. He asks if he's otherwise prepared for the transpossession. He tells Giles, almost, and walks towards him, tossing a short staff from hand to hand. Giles looks down at the ground, seeing the ritual circle imbued on the floor. Yes, you'd need that to, well, this would be here when the children first came. Now Giles's gears are finally turning. Why would you... Giles looks up. As we see the keeper behind him in view, Giles is clicked into exactly what is up. He chuckles nervously and turns to look at Paint Face over here, offering, how terribly frustrating for you that a bunch of school children could accomplish what you could not. He comments it bothered him, but the power will soon be his. Giles starts to run off, but the keeper slams the staff into his stomach, stopping him, and then bashing him across the back as he's hunched over, knocking him down and out. And here we get, I think the third or second time now Giles has been knocked unconscious since the witch. This is going to run this.
Happens every episode.
Literally, Giles is unconscious. Sorry, Giles, you figured this out too late, and now you're knocked out for the third time I wrote. I guess it's time number 3. I just had to read a little further down into my notes. Third time's the charm. I don't know how many times we have to count. This is 3. Dragging him off the circle and into the neighboring room, Buffy closes in on the zoo entrance. As Willow can hear them approaching, she ducks under the tape and runs inside yelling, they're almost here, Giles, Giles. She doesn't see him, but notices the keeper and asks, where are the hyenas? He points them behind the bars containing them, and she runs over by them, him stopping her, saying, stop, they haven't been fed. She asks, where's Giles? And he puns, he's laying in wait. She informs him once more that they're almost here. Shouldn't he be bringing out the hyenas? He tells her when the time is right and grabs some rope and starts to bind Willow's wrist together, saying he's going to need her help. We see Buffy rip through the caution tape, then just steps behind her as she yells out, they're right behind me. Okay, so Buffy, I got to point out right here, she's running all the way across town to the fucking zoo. How close is this zoo in this small-ass town? I'm even confused why this town has a zoo. But special note, Sunnydale Zoo is a playable map on the second Buffy video game, Chaos Bleeds, and it's a big-ass map. So if the map is that big for the zoo, how the fuck Buffy running across town to it? And what? We gotta talk about this next episode, because there's going to be another scene, but Is she like a cheetah as a slayer? I know she's got slayer speed, slayer strength, all the things, but are we talking like 70 mph or like I don't understand.
Are we talking about like a turbo boost or
No, we got the scene that we didn't get where Buffy's got her what are those little things that the people like stand on and they lean forward and they move? Can't think of what they're called. They're called something.
what are you talking about?
They're the little
A
the
Segway?
Segway, yes. Buffy,
Yes.
okay, so
Okay.
let me redo that piece because now that we figured it out, Buffy be on her Segway in between scenes that we can't see, and she'd be like zooming down the street with the fucking hyenas. It's the only way I'm thinking she ran all the way here. Like, this shit's just, it's just stupid.
And like Giles pulling her in a red wagon, just like but
Giles ain't doing nothing because Giles is passed out in another room.
you're right.
Willow states out loud, "That's Buffy. Get ready." He finishes restraining her, spins her around, and takes stance right behind her. "What is this?" she asks. "The predatory act, remember?" He informs us he brings the blade up to her neck. Right. You'll pretend to slash my throat and put the evil back in the hyenas?" Through gritted teeth, he draws the blade onto her skin and says something like that. She looks on in fear, realizing just as Buffy runs in, she yells out to her, "Buffy, it's a trap!" Xander tackles Buffy from behind. The pack close in on her with him. The keeper yells out in Messiah language, a phrase. The pack look up to him, and their eyes flash yellow and transfer to the keeper. He lets out a growl, drops his blade, and grabs Willow by the head, basically an attempt to chomp at her face like the ants eating away at the girl's severed head from Hereditary. Xander noticing this, screams out her name and tackles the keeper. He disposes of Xander rather quick. Buffy enters the chat with kicks to his face and takes him on as they fight the core four run out. He tries to tackle Buffy once more. She flips him over the railing into the hyena pit. As he tries to climb out, we hear him scream as the hungry hyenas begin to rip into him, eating him. You gotta, like, at some point in life when you go on your Buffy rewatch journey, which is hopefully one day because you'll be obsessed with Buffy as much as I am, the stunt double that they had, I never noticed it before because I hadn't really been like paying that much attention. It's a full ass like Asian man in a blonde wig or something, or like a woman. I don't really know, but it's not Buffy at all. Like, it's, if anything, go back and rewatch just the ending where she's fighting and
Now I gotta
look at
to.
it. I think I have a picture of it. I might upload it on the Instagram for everybody to see, like side by side. Like, that is not Buffy. They do a better job with that later on once they get Sophia Crawford on the show to be her stunt double. Like, if you pause
They're
the
like
thing, like,
shows a random dude. We're like, here, wear it this way.
it's like when Amy was on top of the pyramid in The Witch, and it has that cut scene when she's standing up with her arms up and doing the A pose at the top of the A frame, and it's clearly a woman with black hair, and it's not even blonde Amy anymore. And they just like have the shot frozen there for 4 seconds, and I'm like, everyone can see that it's not Amy. It's not even from like a backward shot of a blonde babe.
I
Like,
didn't even do it fast enough.
I'm so done with this show when it comes to stuff like that. It gets better, I think. We're going to call it out as we see it, though. Buffy looks at Willow and Xander. The neighboring room door opens, and Giles stumbles in, asking if he's missed anything. Buffy just stares at him. The next day at school, we see Willow walking and talking to Buffy and Xander about how the vice principal is taking over till they can find a replacement. Buffy saying it shouldn't be too hard to find a new one, unless they ask what happened to the last one. Xander cuts them off. Okay, but I had nothing to do with that, right? Willow assures him that he only ate the pig. Ate a pig? He questions, alarmed. Was he cooked and called bacon, or he's wigging? Except he's not, because he remembers everything and he just don't want to say that. The three walk up the staircase in the courtyard to the second floor of the school, while Buffy claims it wasn't really him. He speaks on how he remembers going to the zoo, entering the hyena house, and then the next thing you know, some guy's holding Willow with a knife. Willow's saying to him, he saved her. He replies with a hug. Hey, nobody messes with my Willow, as she smiles. She's got her Xander back. Yeah, the fucking disturbed-ass version of him that we want to punch in his throat. Buffy jokes about how this is definitely their superior preferred Xander, as he asks if he did anything else. Anything embarrassing, maybe? Buffy and Willow share a look, and Buffy just says, nah. Okay, this is all partially Buffy's fault right here, because she could have said something to him, and he would have been like, oh, fuck, my bad, I'm sorry for that. But also, we'll get here in a moment, because I'm already starting to sweat blood and tears over my infuriated nature. Buffy says, come on, to Willow. We're going to be late for class. The two start to separate from Xander. Willow says they'll see him at lunch. Xander begins to walk off, telling them that he's going vegetarian. They laugh, and he bumps into Giles, who informs him.
I've been reading up on my animal possession, and I cannot find anything anywhere about memory loss afterwards.
Xander cuts the shit and nervously asks, "Did you tell them that?" Giles motions to his ear, stating, "Your secret dies with me." He looks to Giles and says with a head hanging low,
Shoot me, stuff me, not me.
Giles gives him a couple of pats on the shoulder. Tribal music begins to play as Giles watches Xander walk away. That's where we'll leave it. We fade to black, and here endeth the episode. Before we get into our final stuff, I have to say that beanie on Buffy in this ending scene, it was not it. A fashion out moment for Buffy, because that was just not going with anything. I don't understand why they did that.
I have notes about it too. I literally was like, okay. What happened? Because we were doing flawlessly beautiful with the outfit layout up until this very moment. And as soon as they panned into view of her with that beanie on, I was like, okay, no. She must be real traumatized from that attack with Xander. She's about to change up her whole style and look crazy.
Right. It wasn't even like a sack beanie. It was just like a hard, aggressive fucking beanie. And it was like oversized on her head and not in a cute way. It was just like not the moment. I'm like, Buffy, no, fashion out moment. And Giles also, how dare you let the secret die with you? Men covering for fellow men, the patriarchy be like.
I know. I thought the same thing.
Giles. But whatever.
Also, do you wonder if whenever they make Buffy, or really anyone, but we'll just call it Buffy in this instance because this is the primary person of the show, do you think when they dressed her in certain ways, like AK in that beanie, when she looked at her mirror before she started filming this scene, do you think she was like, now what in the natural fuck?
Probably. She's probably like, well.
She was probably excited to look cute, and then they were like, no.
Listen, there is at some point in the series, whenever like they become their characters more, they start kind of requesting outfits. Not really requesting, but saying like, you know, like I think my character will wear this or not wear this, blah, blah, blah. Well, Sarah Michelle Gellar does that at one point because she's just like, Buffy would not be dressed in this way. And she's like, you need to change these clothes. She should have done this in episode 6. But, you know, she was like, I don't want to get fired off the show and then replace me with like Jessica Biel or some shit, you know? They're like, we're going to save her for Alias. Oh, not Jessica Biel. That's Jessica Alba. I don't know my Jessicas. It's Ashley Simpson. On a Monday, I am waiting. And by Tuesday. I saw your post the other day.
I love that shit. I was like, let's get through that.
Anyways, that being said, Courtney, I am so excited. I'm so sex-cited because Xander was sex-cited. I'm so excited since we're on the fuck off Xander train already to tell you about the metaphors and dish about this.
Yes, tell me.
All right. To simplify the overall metaphor in the beginning, it's the classic high school bullies. High school bullying is our metaphor. People who pick on you and bother you just for their own fun, and half the time they are pieces of shit with a piece of shit life themselves. Hence why they act out. They're unhappy with their existence and have to lash out at others due to their state of being, yada, 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 unless they are, you know, just a sociopath. But everyone has dealt with this or been witness to bullying, no doubt. Okay, well, to go a little further, the darkness this episode casts is just the beginning of some of the things we see across the show's run, but letting us know it's not afraid to go into the dark space. The darkest of space is held for the show's action of attempted rape and the metaphors for sexual assault. Mark Fields in Myth, Metaphor, and Morality has this to say in a passage for this episode. Considering Xander's actions in the context of the show, we learn from Giles in The Harvest that a vampire isn't a person at all, rather a demon that sets up shop in a human and the person is infected by the demon's soul. That sounds like Xander's situation. He was infected by the hyena, but the net result was the same. Jesse also became infected by a demon, but his basic view of the world remained very similar to what it had been before. He went to the bronze, he wanted Cordelia, and resented not getting what he wanted. Because when Darla pulled him away, he was like, I don't get one. He wanted Cordelia. His actions were still the same. It seems that the demon may be in control, but the elements of Jesse's memory and personality remained. Only the moral restraints were lifted. Similarly, Xander became cruel to others, but like the human Xander, he remained obsessed with Buffy. Let's face it, hyenas don't sexually assault human women. That came from Xander, not the demon possessing him. This raising all kinds of interesting moral issues. It is, for one, a comment and metaphor about the evil potential inside of all of us. Xander isn't a bad person, he just has dark sides to him which he keeps in restraint, and which we'd never have seen if the demon hadn't released them, because obviously Xander wasn't going to do this. He was like a shy, little innocent, nervous half the time boy. This seems like a commentary on all of us, and it probably is more true about ourselves than we'd often like to admit, since we all have dark thoughts, but our moral compass and conscience typically keeps us from acting on them. Mark goes on to add how this plays in for Buffy, since our show is about her, and this episode has to dip into her in some way. He mentions that hyenas are female dominant and they produce a high concentration of male hormones in their packs. And Buffy herself is the dominant figure, as I took notice when we talked about the dodgeball game. And she is stronger than everyone else in control. The message for Buffy is, this could be you. It's not about bashing males for testosterone poisoning in the episode. It's about abusing a position of dominance, bullying, and about caring for the weak rather than preying on them. So that's like a kind of lesson learned. I fucking loved this passage. Very eye-opening, and I couldn't wait to share that shit. It was heavy and totally accurate. This episode had a lot to swallow, but I think it's actively and accurately portrayed the situation with or without metaphor well. It is dark, but I do overall enjoy the episode. For a Xander-centric episode, Nicholas Brendon really got to show us his range and how he can switch up his role in the show. He did very well in his portrayal as the hyena-possessed Xander, which was a big difference to the normal Xander we are used to seeing. I do have to say that this doesn't surprise me, though, with everything we've discussed and how the metaphor section unraveled him and called him out. I mean, are we shocked? Look at what he was doing in Buffy's room while she was trying to change last episode. It's interesting how the show used monsters this episode on the take of what the gang had to deal with, as our major problem was spiritual possession. Once again, the team did great at working together to eradicate the danger element and get Xander back, and even the core 4 assholes. And spoiler of all spoilers, I have to say, we never ever see these students again. And now you can unleash your stuff. I don't know. I guess really quick, talking about that stuff, that totally rings true, what he was saying. That was Xander still. You made the comment earlier, actually, to point that out. But either way, how do you feel about everything?
100%. Yeah, and that's kind of why I made that comment. It was interesting to me that, like, psychologically speaking, we're dealing with what we're calling a possession, but there's such a diehard element of, like, the desire part of it that's still at large. And I was just like, okay, but if he's so foggy and he's just primally acting, then you would think that there would be no filter on selecting your victim. It would just be the next person. But it was so strategic and intentional that I was just like, this shit is toxic right now. Like, I cannot handle a fucking Xander. You said season 5, it is going to take him that long to fucking redeem himself, if ever. Have fun. Like,
No, for real, though.
they better make him act angelic as fuck until season 5.
I'm just shocked by it. Like, and obviously I've listened to other podcasts and I've had the commentary of this whole thing. I didn't really pay attention to any other rewatch. And I've seen this episode a lot, but I just out of minded it. Obviously, I'm usually disturbed in any movie. As much as I love horror and stuff like that, I usually get really uncomfortable in scenes of rape or anything like that. If things get too torturous and then people are strapped down. I remember sitting with you when we were watching Wrong Turn 6 or some shit at one point when we lived on Watt. And I had to all pause the movie because that guy was on the table strapped down there cutting him open. And he's like, please stop. Just kill me. Just kill me. I was like, oh my God, this is just too real. Like, real situations like that, I'm just like, whoa, like, that's fucked up. But for Xander to sit there and actively do this stuff, and I don't know, it was just a part of him. Like you said, like, it does, like, or they said too, it doesn't really go away.
And then he did it again, like he did it with Willow later, because he was all manipulating her feelings for him when he was locked up in the cage, you know? So I'm just like, you're being real strategic and calculated for someone who's supposed to just be acting on, like, possessive impulse and, like, animal instinct almost, you know?
I'm curious how it would have been if it had more time to unravel, because I wonder if more of his, like, the actual Xander, like, that was still present, would have fell deeper into the darker spaces of the whole possession, just because obviously we saw him unfold as everything started to happen, from the possession itself in the instance to how he was slowly laughing at the fat kid in the bronze. And then he was like, you know, picking on Willow and throwing the dodgeball at her, and then obviously doing what he did to Buffy. And like you said, he didn't just go find any living thing that has sexual needs. And whether an animal isn't just a monkey, like in their wild, they have sex with their own kids. Like,
And they made it a point to say that they prey on the weak, and Buffy is the furthest thing from weak. So you would think that instinctually, if he was acting on that instinct, he would have gone for Buffy last and Willow first, because she is already, like, weak for him. You know what I mean?
but no,
So I'm like,
Xander likes Buffy, so he saw this as his opportunity. And I'm going to comment on it in a minute.
and he probably was gonna be like,
You know what? If I do it and get away with it, I'll blame it on memory loss and we'll all pretend it never happened.
Which is basically exactly what happens, which I don't like, because there's it's just the whole thing, which I'm going to go ahead before we do our other things, I'm going to bump into my weekly wigs because my weekly wiggins is Xander's attempted rape. And it leads me into my comment that I basically wanted to make on it. Regular Xander not being, after the fact, able to fucking call himself out and tell Buffy he's sorry that he tried to do that. Like, he could have played that off, even though, like we're saying, there's those underlying tones of the fact that it was something that Xander actually wanted to do, and his conscience was pushed down. So he was able to just do that and not have any kind of empathy towards the situation or the act itself. But enjoying what he was possibly about to do, he did it anyways. You remember what you tried to do. So the fact that you were trying to get pelvic with Buffy, your obsession, you should 100% apologize to her and say, you know what? Actually, even if it's in that moment, I was possessed. I mean, and that's a true statement. He was fucking possessed. That shit was pushed down to the like sub level of what he could do.
To me, it didn't need explanation after the whole incident has already been
just
said
say
and done.
sorry.
I'm like, we know you were possessed. You don't need to act like it. Just, I don't know. It was like, oh, okay, cool. So when men fuck up and do something that invade a woman's privacy, not only are they gonna pretend it never happened, but they'll do whatever it takes to avoid the accountability.
Yep.
I'm good on it.
Just literally spoken like the best right there. I'd be getting flustered. I literally have stuff written out in front of me and I can't even read it because I'm like, get through it. It basically confirms exactly what we just discussed in the metaphor section. The fact that he never owns up to it is just, it just bothers me because it's never mentioned really. I'm not going to say that actually, but like we'll kind of see some stuff because, and even then, wait till another moment happens because we're going to cycle back to this in a way and we're just gonna be like, really still? Like what?
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
But you did bring up a good point in which they kind of touched base on this whole brotherhood moment where it's like, okay, even someone like Giles, who we love and adore, and you would think would be the first voice of reason to Xander to be like, I think you need to not pretend. And you need to fess up and take accountability and apologize for what you did, whether that was like some dark version of you were possessed, whatever. We all need to collectively be in the awareness that you remember what you did. And because of that you're sorry. Not the good old, let's keep it under wraps and never tell anyone. I'm like, Giles.
Yeah, I don't think Giles in 2024 would have done what he done. He would have been like, you need to own up to it. I'm surprised and disappointed in Giles in that moment for not even saying anything to him and being like,
But I wonder if they did it intentionally, you know,
Oh, they
like
did.
script-wise, because they were like, this is how it goes.
It's written
Like,
by
this
men.
is just how it is. So it's like even someone like Giles is 100% susceptible to behaving that way and looking out for a fellow man.
Yep.
And why not?
Yeah, it's gross. Anyways, what gave you the weekly wigs?
That did. It was a tie between Xander. Okay, there was actually a lot, but most of Xander's behavior, especially toward Willow, like the first instance where he's like freaking out about the math homework and he's already kind of being a dick. Then that evolves into him literally in a very aggressive, abusive, harsh way, throwing the fucking dodgeball at her like he legit wants her head to pop off. And then you're gonna embarrass her in front of people by insulting her verbally. And then you literally are going to physically attack her if you weren't locked up behind a cage. You're full of weekly wiggin'. You're basically freaking Miss French, except for in this episode.
Do you think he would have just knocked Willow out and then like left? Or do you think he would have like, I don't know if he would have murdered her in that instance, but like.
You kidding? He obviously would have raped her or something since that's his MO.
No, but he's not attracted to Willow. So he would have just got his friends because they were there to get him 2 seconds later. They would have just literally ate Willow up, which is basically what they were going to end up doing anyways because they were hunting her down in that room. Like Heidi was over there talking, Willow's crunchy.
Okay, but that was also weekly wiggins for me. Like, we're talking about crunchy.
She's just sad because she had like 8 lines the whole fucking episode.
She really had emphasized double down on that one.
Like poor Kyle at least had like more fucking words. But of course the guys out of the group got fucking more stuff. But goodbye, Core 4. We'll never see you again. Have fun being in detention till the end of time.
I feel like my weekly wiggins was definitely most of Xander's behavior, especially toward Willow, but also in combination with the fact that the whole thing ended with basically Giles being like, oh, no worries. We'll never speak a word of the fact that you're basically a borderline rapist, you fucking sociopath. But okay, it's fine.
Let me take the 2 seconds. So we're in episode 6, and you have like, I mean, we've talked a little bit like over text and in person about the Buffy episodes as like whatever, but we usually try to wait till we come to the recording session to dish about stuff. So, but you all text me and talking about, all right, I'm fucking done with Xander. I was like in the middle of a massage, and I'm over here with my elbow in someone, and I was like, I gotta text that right now. So I'm over here, set my phone on the table, make sure the vibrator on. I'm fucking texting you back and shit like that. I could not wait to get out of that massage so I could like full on send you those voice notes that I did. And we were talking about time to pack Xander up and send him off. All that shit. I gotta go through a few of them and fucking, because I was dying that day when we were like talking about it. But it's like, yes, this is what I want. I need these conversations, but also not all the time because we need to be like,
You can screenshot them and use them as promos.
I wish I could the voice ones. Now the text message one, yes, for sure. But that shit was funny as fuck. But getting on to maybe some like lighter and brighter stuff in the episode. Do you have anything else before we do our stuff that we usually do at the end of the episode?
No.
Cool. What's your quote of the episode?
I think by far my favorite one was when Buffy told that kid, "Didn't your mom teach you not to play with your food?" And she's like full on fighting off a pack of hyenas that are about to eat this whole entire family, aka Thomas in the car not listening.
I forgot to say it earlier, but how about I never realized upon watching the show that they were trying to get Joey because he's the weakest of the parent. Like, I didn't really, I mean, I know they were saying Joey. It just never, I just thought that they heard the mom say Joey's name so like they could taunt him versus the whole family. I thought maybe they were going to eat the whole family, but this time really watching around, like Xander's in there trying to rip Joey out of the car to take him from their parents so they can go off and eat Joey in the woods. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I did not know that. Like, I'm like, how is this my favorite show and I've never paid attention to that? Like, what?
Or
Joey about to be eaten.
As soon as they introduced into the scene that family coming out of their house and walking toward their car, and you already know because they're the most random motherfuckers that have ever popped up on the show so far. Like, we don't know them, and we're like, oh no, they're just staples. They're a prop. They're about something's about to happen to at least one of them. So I already had a bad feeling. I was like, oh my god, if they literally eat any more people on this episode, I'm gonna tap out. Like, it's too much now. You've eaten a pig alive, and the principal, who was not a small man, mind you.
Yeah, he did have a little bit of chub.
Also, I wanted to mention in my notes that I feel like, and I don't know if this happens, so if it does, I'm sorry. And then
Slayer
it just means my
predictions.
mind. This is my Slayer prediction. I think that Giles should be the principal.
That's an interesting.
The new principal.
Yeah, I mean, he really should. That would help a whole lot because then you wouldn't have somebody like looming over their head. But as we hear at the end of the episode, their vice principal is taking over until they can find a new one. So that just leads us to believe that another principal will come into context for the show. So maybe we'll see that at some point.
Yeah. I was hoping that they were just setting it up for Giles. I was like, oh yeah, they had to open that position up so he could get us.
They don't. I can't let you go on in hopes thinking that Giles is going to be the new principal. He's not, but that really would help the situation because then like they really wouldn't be caught with anything.
It would have made too much sense. So of course not.
Giles doesn't need that position of power. Too much to worry about. But speaking of Giles, my quote of the episode is from Giles because every episode I seem to choose Giles as my quote. I like when he was like, "This is devastating. He's turned into a 16-year-old boy. Of course you'll have to kill him." Oh, like, shut the fuck up. But obviously, like, there's this whole theme that goes down with people not believing Buffy since jump of this show. No one ever believes Buffy, and she's always coming to them. And this is a plot that just does not die out anytime soon. Honestly, probably across the series. She's like always saying something's up, and everybody's like, nah, we're going to gaslight you. It's not really happening. You're crazy, Buffy. You're a girl.
That sounds like my life, the story of my life.
But Buffy's like, I am the girl. I am the chosen one. Motherfucker, you better shut the fuck up. Listen to me before I slay your ass.
Shh. Well, that part doesn't sound like my life, but the first part does.
Sounds like mine. Anyways, that makes Buffy my shining slayer this week because she stay putting 2 and 2 together, and I think she's the queen of connecting the dots.
I am going to agree and second that. I know I try to be the one that doesn't go with Buffy because it seems like, of course, duh, she's the Slayer. She's got to be. But there is no one else in this episode for me. She just showed up. She did her job. She took care of business. No questions asked while telling her usual jokes and being savage all at the same time flawlessly. So, yeah, that's it. Also, I love that the zookeeper's name is just Zookeeper the whole time.
I have to comment that she hit Xander with the desk, and that's also why she's a Shining Slayer.
Yeah.
But yes, I said out earlier I wanted to commentate on the Zookeeper, and I can't remember what. I just never went back to my notes to really talk about him, and I don't remember what it was. I think I had something in my head about him. I just thought it was funny. That's a funny thing to point out, is he had no actual name. He was just a zookeeper.
And whenever they panned into his face, when his face is painted, I was like, this is giving JoJo Siwa. Yes.
I've only seen a little bit of like her antics here lately, but people are ripping her.
Literally the same.
That poor motherfucker. Well, that kind of like closes out our fun little stuff that we do at the end of the stuff. I thought it was interesting because I have written here, none this week for Slayer at predictions, no drive in the overall plot. So you can't predict anything, but we'll predict that Xander is a douchebag.
And that Giles is going to be the principal, even though we know he's not, but he should be.
In my mind, he is. He's daddy.
He's your principal.
He's my principal.
Well, as we're talking about principals, let's give one more final farewell and rest in peace to Principal 𝙂𝙧, our dearest, most beloved. I hope the next principal is just as nice, just as sweet, and just as amazing as you were.
AKA Giles.
It's all the nice people dying. First Dr. Gregory, now fucking Principal 𝙂𝙧. All the good people. Darn.
You are right. You are kind of right.
All the Buffys. If you like Buffy, you out the show.
And it's never in like a kosher, normal, low-key way. The first dude got his whole head eaten off or whatever, hereditary. And then this homie got eaten alive by students. I love, by the way, one of my favorite things, I meant to mention this earlier, is when he says to them as they're literally surrounding him about to eat him alive. And this is what, like, it's clear now what's going to happen. There's no more questions asked. As a viewer, this man is dead. And he says something about, you're close to suspension or expulsion. And I'm like, expulsion? They're going to prison, my friend. What are you talking about?
What happens to them afterwards, too? They never get caught, obviously. But, like, these students are going to also remember what they did as well. And, like, they know they ate a fucking teacher. You think they're not assholes anymore? They're either worse off than they were, or they're physically in their adulthood they're going to be seeking therapy. They're going to be showing up for Life in Retrograde's therapy Thursday, every single Thursday for season 3.
They need to.
All right, great. Well, I'm rather pleased we are done with this episode. Like I said, I do enjoy it overall for its premise because it is interesting, but not so much for its actions, aka Xander's actions and then inactions. But it is nice. Inactions being not saying, I'm sorry. But it is nice to have it behind us. And I'm literally so excited for our next episode entitled Angel, which says enough just in its title, like I said earlier, what it will be about. I can't wait for you specifically to experience it and for us to come together to discuss it, as it is my second favorite episode for season 1 and undoubtedly ranks for the entirety of our first season in general, like as pretty much top episode or second place, I guess I gotta say. Listeners, totally write in and let us know how you feel about the pack, Xander in this episode, as I'm sure we all agree on the exact same fact because I know we have to. And that's why people don't like Xander half the time. They have his moments. Like I always say, I would not want Xander not to be in the show. But right now he can like go join a new pack and not be hanging out with our core Scooby gang anymore, like at all. I'm done with them. But either way, tell us what you think about Xander and anything else that you have to make points on for this episode. Give us your perspective, your Shining Slayer. And if something here gave you the weekly wigs, I suspect, again, it's going to be Xander that gave you the weekly wigs. Or poor Herbert. Either way. I'll safely assume as such, and we all know it's Xander Harris. Thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale. We also would like to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamped_rewatch podcast.
Or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com. Additionally, we will be choosing one of your messages to shout out in an upcoming episode release. And don't forget, if you're looking for a friend and some unsolicited advice for the times when life feels out of orbit, go follow Life in Retrograde podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Until next time, the Earth is definitely doomed.
This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.